also tonight, Democrats predicting a blue wave in the 2018 midterm elections. I put the emphasis there because we'll discuss it. Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich saying not so fast in a new.com op-ed, foxnews.com op-ed titled "Get Ready for the Political Surprise of 2018." Gingrich explains how the Republicans will shock the political landscape in 2018 because of three key factors. One, Republicans keeping their promises, voters rejecting fake news, and because Americans will have more money in their pockets thanks to the GOP tax bill. Joining us now with reaction, former Secret Service agent and Conservative Review contributing editor Dan Bongino, RNC spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany, and former Clinton pollster and Fox News contributor, and our friend Doug Schoen. Doug, let me go right to you as the man in the center politically. We'll call you that. Absolutely. As the centrist Democrat. What do you say to Speaker Gingrich's prediction that there will be a shock in the Republican quarters?
Well, I would say to my good friend Newt Gingrich, go back to 1994 when the Democrats passed a tax bill with no Republican support, and it led to a Republican wave, the Contract for America. And I think with President Trump at a level of approval in the mid-30s, the Democrats with 11-point lead in the generic vote, and history suggesting that in the midterm of a first-term president, that there's an average of, I think, 24 to 30 odd seats picked up in the House. It's much more likely that the Democrats have the blue wave you spoke of, David, than that there be a Republican wave.
Yeah, but Kayleigh, is this the same environment as 1994? And I've said this before. We've got a generational change. We've got a change in the electorate. You look at the changes in the state legislatures. I understand Doug's points on the history of this and the track record. But you know what? History and polls aren't always right.
That's right, and Democrats are singing the same tired tune that they sang in 2016 when they said Donald Trump would never win. Their optimism, they have no cause for it now because Donald Trump has achieved historic victories. You look at ISIS, 15,000 fighters 2 years ago. Now there are fewer than 1,000. You look at tax cuts, $1,000 in American people's pockets starting in February. Every single front Donald Trump has achieved, and every single front Democrats have obstructed, they've deceived, and they've distracted from the issues the American people care about. It's a different generation, for sure, a different time, and Democrats do not have cause for optimism in 2018.
All right, Dan, now Secret Service agents are blue-collar guys. You know, you get paid okay when you were there, but you don't get a whole lot of money. The blue-collar economy, the blue-collar billionaire, now President Donald Trump. Do you think those centrist Democrats, do you think those Midwest Democrats are going to go back to the Democrats over the Republicans and over, I think more importantly, over President Trump?
No, David, they're not. I mean, what are the Democrats offering you other than that Republicans hate you because you're fill in the blank, you know, the identity politics routine? Seriously, what are they offering? And the answer is they're offering nothing. I mean, is there policy going to be next year to run against the tax cuts? In other words, we think the government should be entitled to more of your money. Here's a better one. Are they going to run against the repeal of the individual mandate and say, no, we think you should be able to, you should be forced to buy again next year overpriced, really crappy health insurance that nobody wants? I mean, they've yet to put on the table a substantive platform outside of the identity politics agenda that's going to resonate in places like Pennsylvania, in the panhandle of Florida. I think this blue wave is a fiction. I could be proven wrong, but I doubt it's going to happen.
All right, now, Doug, before we go to you, because you've really been involved in the trenches in campaigns, and Kayleigh as well, I want to go to the leadership and call it the old guard. This is Howard Dean, he of the famous Scream, talking about what's needed in the Democrat Party. Let's play this.
Sure.
I actually think the progressives are in the process of informally taking over the Democratic Party. I think the country has moved to the left. It's shocking to me, but a majority of Americans think Medicare for all is a good idea. I mean, and that, frankly, Bernie gets a lot of credit for that. I don't think he's going to be the next nominee, but he could be. Because I'm very much for somebody who's younger. I think my generation's got to get the hell out of politics, start coaching, and start moving up this next generation.
All right, so, Doug, I got to put up two screens and let you take it from there. You know the structure of running the campaign. Here are the fundraising numbers for the RNC.
Sure.
All right, you got total receipts, $121.4 million, cash on hand, $39.8, debts owed, $0. Then we go to the Democrats. The Democrats, $60.7 million, cash on hand, $6.3, and $2.6 in debt. Eventually, the primaries end, and you need the national party, the fundraising to fund the campaigns to make them win.
Sure.
How do the Democrats do this?
Well, a couple of ways. First, I do reject the notion that the Democrats are a progressive party that need to move to the left. If they're going to win working class voters back, it's not by moving to the left. Frankly, the best asset the Democrats now have are the Republicans and their lack of popularity, because sadly, Dan is right. There is not a centrist, inclusive Democratic agenda. And I say to my friends and colleagues in the Democratic Party, you need one on growth, on infrastructure, and it necessarily involves the Republicans as well. But the individual Democrats running, David, to your question, are outraising the Republicans. I think there have been 30, 35-odd Republican retirements. The fundraising numbers for the party committees, I believe, are running parallel with, if not in some instances ahead of the Republicans. And if the Democrats stay 11 points ahead, there's one thing I know for sure. They will raise all the money they need, as they did in 2016. Money is not the Democratic Party's problem. It's message.
All right, Kayleigh, message, money. But Donald Trump stole some of their issues. Did he steal infrastructure? Did he steal blue-collar issues from the Democrats? And to Doug's point, their party shifted hard to the left.
David, undoubtedly, Donald Trump spoke to those factory workers in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania who the Democrats had left behind. I mean, if Democrats would listen to Doug, they might have a chance in 2018. But unfortunately, the Democratic Party has floated so far left. They're the party of socialism that wants to take your money, that wants to overregulate you, that wants to force you to buy health care. That's the state of the Democratic Party. And then on top of all of that, they're the party that rigs elections for Hillary Clinton at the expense of Bernie Sanders. They're the party that rigs elections. They're the party of socialism. That's their legacy.
All right. So, Dan, we've gone through the political analysis on the ground. And I know you watch this carefully. You talk about it when you get on radio and television as well. What about the boots on the ground, the people that are going to volunteer to help the parties, the blue-collar folks out there? They wear out a lot of shoe leather walking for candidates. Where do you see the energy? More with the Democrats, more with the Republicans? Or is it a little bit of both?
Well, I'll take each side first. The Democrats, David, there's no question, and it doesn't do Republicans any good to ignore this, they're angry. And to deny the fact that anger is a great motivator to get people out to the polls, you're just making a fool of yourself. They are angry. They are going to show up, and we have seen relatively high turnout, astronomical turnout in Alabama. For Republicans to ignore that is political suicide. But having said that, the media is doing itself no favors by constantly providing a foil and a reason to be angry for Republican voters. There's a litany of fake news, false charges against the president constantly, bad reporting. There's this special counsel investigation that's and I don't mean to highlight anger too much, but it's a real human emotion and a real motivator. And Republicans are angry too. And until this stops, this witch hunt against the president, I think that this special counsel and the media and their zero credibility and their collapsing credibility, I think it's doing the president, the sitting president, a great favor, and is going to be a great motivator in these midterm elections to get people out.
All right, special counsel. Now we have a New York Times report I mentioned at the beginning of the show. The president saying that he believes Robert Mueller, and I'm paraphrasing in this 30-minute interview, saying that he believes Mueller will treat him fairly. Doug, from there, I mean, breaking news, the president saying what the Democrats are not. They're saying he's going to fire Mueller, he's going to throw him out, or the media, whatever. And now he says, hey, Mueller's going to treat me well.
Well, look, I think that's a very positive development. The Democrats should get off the line of saying that, former Director Mueller's, removal is imminent. Let this process play itself out. Don't politicize it. Let's see what General Flynn has to say, what Mr. Papadopoulos has to say, and most of all, let's let the investigation play out. Though I must confess, the FBI and the DOJ do have issues that have to be investigated, but Bob Mueller is a man of unquestionable integrity. His investigation has a ways to go. Watergate, I think, took 3 or 4 years. This is still, I think, 4 or 5 months into the process. More time, more energy has to be committed. There have been 4 pleas already. There's more to go before we can reach a judgment.
Kayleigh, months. Okay, Doug said Watergate took 3 years plus. He's right. Different time. Now we have technology. We have the FBI and the DOJ effectively, according to Devin Nunes, stonewalling on delivering documents, and FOIA requests are flying out of Judicial Watch. Did the president and what he just said hand the RNC and the messaging arm of the RNC a chance to go out there and say, look, we're not trying to shut it down. We want it to go forward. What is that message?
Absolutely. The president's always been clear. He wants this investigation to conclude and to be conducted fairly because there's no Trump-Russia collusion. That was always a conspiracy theory. Also, one of the biggest fake news stories of the year, it's hard to rank them, but perhaps taking the cake, is this idea that President Trump was ever going to fire Bob Mueller. He was never going to fire Mueller. Mueller's tidying up this investigation. It's coming to a close, and it's time for Democrats to step back, accept the facts that Russia-Trump collusion was always based on little more than rumors and the newspapers. That's in the words of, by the way, Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat. That's what this was based on. It was a hoax to topple the American people and the person who they chose in the 2016 election, and that was Donald Trump.
All right, so Dan, who do you think answers in the long run with the dossier? Who paid for what? We've heard all the debate on that. Who answers? Is it the FBI? Is it Mueller? Is it other replaced chief of station, you name it? Who is it?
Yeah. You know, David, if Donald Trump's name was Donald Obama, this would be the scandal of the millennium. I mean, think about what's happened here. This is a complicated case. I get it. The viewers get confused sometimes. Here's what happened. Boil it down to the nuts and bolts. A president-elect was spied on by a sitting president via unmasking techniques. None of that is in dispute. The only thing in dispute is why he was spied on. David, can you answer that question? To this day, nobody can answer the question why the president was spied on. Oh, they'll say, oh, it was Russian collusion. Where? Where's the collusion?
Well, they've clearly got to develop the evidence. They clearly have to present something. Or, Doug, I hope we don't see 3 to 4 years of this. I hope we don't see 4 or 5 months.
I hope we don't either. But
I don't think it's good for the country.
I just don't think we can politicize, rush to judgment. General Flynn, who was, I think, working closely with the Russians on his own, has taken a plea, a very favorable plea. We got to hear what he's got to say.
Not during the campaign, during the transition, Doug.
Well, no, he went to Russia in January of 15. He made a compensated speech.
Cleared,
by the way,
Putin. By the Obama administration that reauthorized this security clearance. Guys, I got to leave it there. But, Doug, always a pleasure to see you, my friend.